Hi everybody. In this tutorial I'm going to give you an idea how to apply the oil pastels in the first layer. So as you can see in this first layer I've laid down the shadow tones, laying out the burnt umber. So you want to lay it out pretty liberally using the side of the pastel, and your goal is to try to create opacity in the shadow tones. Once you lay down the pastel, you can smear and blend it into the areas that you want it to be. And as I mentioned, you want to apply it pretty liberally as you apply the pastel. It's also helpful if you lay out your drawing, and you can see here I actually went back and did a drawing over the piece of tracing paper. Initially I didn't use any kind of preliminary drawing, I just started working right into the surface using the oil pastel. So you can trust your skill sets and do it that method, but it's helpful to lay it out first in pencil, or at least to do a practice charcoal drawing, which I did not do. So I have quite a few edits on the fly as we go into this drawing. Sorry, this angle view, it doesn't really show the proportions correctly, but more or less you get the idea. Once you've essentially laid down the shadow areas with the burnt umber, you're going to go ahead and add the second part to this first layer, or the under layer of your painting. It's also known as underpainting. So you're going to use yellow ochre, and as I mentioned before, yellow ochre is going to represent your value scale pretty much on a 0 through 10 scale, 10 being white, yellow ochre being sort of 7 on the lightness scale. And then you'll lay that in there on the other half of your surface here, your drawing, your pastel paper, and you're going to want to blend it in as well for opacity. And where the yellow ochre meets the burnt umber, there'll be a transition, and then you'll have second, third, fourth, and fifth variations of values in between the burnt umber and the yellow ochre. So the yellow ochre is representing about a 7 on the value scale. The burnt umber is going to represent about a 3 on the value scale. So you'll eventually get darker, and you'll also eventually get lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this layer here. So in this section you'll see that I'm starting to blend the yellow ochre, and you can see that as you massage it through with your finger, you can literally control your drawing a little bit more. You can reclaim areas. You can blend areas, and you can see here reclaiming some of the area by adding a little bit more yellow ochre over there. This first layer, you're gonna apply it liberally. You can see it's all over my fingers. You don't want to apply it too thick where it's like butter and it comes off on your fingers like that. If it does that, then we can always scrape off a little bit. But you definitely want to have that first layer be opaque. So at this stage of your painting, you just want to lay down your first layer, the underpainting, using these two tones. And then you're ready for the next layer.